Hello hedgehogs and squirrels, it's Mrs. Stevens here. I'm going to be reading a story today called Stanley's Stick. Now, Stanley is a little boy who has a very special stick. And I'm just going to read you the blurb on the back. And that tells you a little bit about the story, but not enough so it spoils the story. It says here, Stanley's stick is ordinary, but it can be anything from a rocket to a dinosaur. It captures the power of imagination. So, I'm going to read you Stanley's Stick by John Hegley. That's the author. And it was illustrated by Neil Layton. The illustrator, can you remember what the illustrator does? That's right, draws the pictures. Stanley stands on Stockport Station with his stick. Stanley always carries his stick with him. Stanley's stick was once part of something tall and grand, and it will never return there. But it can still be a stick as best as it can. Stanley has a lot of stick activity, like pretending the stick is a whistle or a banana that is quite straight. You don't have to be great to be great. Like pretending the stick is a match to catch the world aflame. There is game after sticky game. Look, it's a dinosaur that isn't extinct. It's a stickosaurus. Brr. He's so good at pretending. Over here, Stanley has tried out some names for his stick, like Starry and Moon, but those names were all the wrong shape. For a while, he liked Stirry, but that's better for a spoon. Stanley's stick is good for writing in the sand, in languages that only Stanley can understand. And 4 times now he has used it to pick up slugs from the pathway, platform and pavement, thus saving them from a fate worse than feet. Oh, here's his friend Bertie. Stanley's friend Bertie has some string, and sometimes they tie the string to the stick's end and go pretend fishing. And because the fish are pretend, no fish get hurt, says Bertie. Oh, that's kind. So here is Stanley, standing on the station, taking his stick for a short stay at the side of the sea with his mum and dad. The train pulls in. Down at the sea, Stanley goes down to the side of the tide. His folks take stock of Stanley, standing in the sand, stick in hand. What is he doing? I wonder if you know what he's going to do. Have a think. Maybe the boy thinks that it's time for the stick to be taken for someone else to enjoy. Stanley hurls his stick into the wide tide. Gosh, what a tiny splosh for something that's been so big in Stanley's days. The sea picks up the stick and tucks it into itself. Stanley is stickless. The next morning, back at their spot on the beach, the tide is out. Stanley treads towards the spreading sea. Boats ride seaback out in the distance. Stanley decides to look for interesting sticks, for other sticks which have been carried twiggy-back upon the turning tide. Soon he stumbles on a stick alone on the shore. It's quite different from the stick he had before. The stick is an unusual saxophone. Stanley thinks of home and begins to blurt out a tune for Bertie. I like this stick because it's really wiggly. Now Stanley stares through his stick telescope at the sea. It is wonky. And this stick, Stanley knows the name of. It is called Fantastic. You see, it's the mast of his ship. Stanley's Fantastic. At the back, there's a picture of John Hegley. He wrote the story. And here's Neil Layton. He drew the pictures. Later, we'll read another story called Not a Stick to give you some more ideas about your stick. I've got my own special stick. You will need a special stick. You'll have to go and find one. Have a look at the activities on the PowerPoint. See what you can do. Bye.